Ripple just made its boldest move yet, and barely anyone is talking about it. In a stunning turn that could reshape the entire future of digital finance, Ripple has officially applied for a U.S. national bank charter and a Federal Reserve master account. That's right, Ripple isn't just trying to partner with banks anymore, they're positioning themselves to become one. And the timing, it's no coincidence. With Congress moving closer to passing sweeping legislation on stablecoins, Ripple is preparing to leap ahead of the curve, not just to survive regulation, but to set the standard for it, as already the US House designates July 14th through the 18th as Crypto Week, when they're going to talk about clarity, anti-CBDC surveillance, and the Genius Act, which is the stablecoin bill. And according to Trump's executive director, Bo Hines, the industry will likely go to $15 to $20 trillion after stablecoin legislation becomes law. Now, when you put the two and two together, Ripple applying for a bank charter, the fact that they have the RLUSD stablecoin, what are they not telling us but is going to change everything for XRP and XRP holders in the future? Well, back in March, Ripple directly on their website put out an article talking about how Ripple's RLUSD and the XRPL are going to be available for institutional insights on RWA.xyz. Now, RWA stands for real world assets, which is essentially tokenizing assets on chain and making things far more affordable and efficient and transparent. And apparently tokenized assets are going to reach about $16 trillion by 2030. When you combine that with the crypto market, a lot of this value is going to find its way into many of the strongest crypto tokens like XRP. Now, the cool thing is RLUSD isn't aiming to be just like USDC or Tether. It's aiming to be the first and only stablecoin backed by both state and federal regulators, with reserves potentially being held directly at the Fed. This will put them leagues ahead of everyone else. And if approved, that gives Ripple elite access to the US financial system, the ability to issue and redeem stablecoins 24/7, and a direct line to institutional trust, the kind that BlackRock, Fidelity, and global banks are waiting for before jumping into tokenized assets. And Brad Garlinghouse has made it clear, Ripple isn't just building a product, they're building a battle-tested financial infrastructure for a $250 billion plus market, which is expected to grow to $15 to $20 trillion. And in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what this means for XRP, why Wall Street should be watching, and how this single move could put Ripple at the center of a new financial system if they pull it off. So let's dive into the video, and if you haven't had a chance to yet, be sure to enter our weekly $100 worth of XRP giveaway. All you need to do is head on over to Bull Runners HQ on Twitter or X. Check out the pinned post. Last week's winner was Pat, and you need to follow through with 3 simple steps. Follow the Bull Runners, like, retweet, and comment XRP, and then finally subscribe to our daily crypto newsletter. You can go to bullrunners.com. We do double verify that you've done all of these steps, and all the way through to the point where we also choose a random winner who's followed through with all of those steps. By the way, when you go to Bull Runners, either way, if you just enter your email address, we're going to send you an ebook that unlocks the 23 secrets to helping you become a crypto millionaire. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain by simply checking it out. And also, as always, if you're feeling blessed and bullish, comment 777. And if you're going to be the wealthiest person in your family tree, smash the subscribe button. Hello and welcome back to the channel, my friend. If you're new here, my name is Paul, and you can find me on Twitter or X at PauliDefi, PAULIEDEFI. Really quickly, I want to dive into this news surrounding Ripple seeking a U.S. banking license, which would make the OCC a regulator of Ripple's stablecoin RLUSD, which has seen consistent growth and demand coming back all the way to March of this year. And here is where things are absolutely insane and will go nutty for Ripple as a company, which will likely drive more demand for the XRP token, as they are going to place RLUSD within the OCC's remit if this application is approved. And the dual nature of that regulation would basically have set a new bar for transparency and compliance in the stablecoin market. Ripple's subsidiary, Standard Custody and Trust, also applied for a master account at the Federal Reserve on Monday. And if granted, this account would allow Ripple to custody the reserves directly at the Fed, which is going to provide a lot of trust and transparency for other players to do business with Ripple and issue and redeem stablecoins outside of normal banking hours. Now, this is all happening right before the Senate Banking Committee is going to hold a hearing on crypto market structure on July 9th, which will include Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse sitting in as a witness. And this comes all right before the US is designating July 14th through the 18th as Crypto Week, where all things are going to be discussed and arguably the Genius Act is going to be passed. When this passes, many are speculating that it's going to create an explosion in the crypto markets. And maybe that's why we've seen Bitcoin and XRP pump pretty hard off of those lows recently. And Bitcoin is up to $109,000 and XRP is now sitting at $2.26. And this stablecoin legislation is gaining so much support that even Brad Garlinghouse reposted a video of the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent talking about how crypto is not a threat to the dollar. And in fact, stablecoins will reinforce dollar supremacy. Let's have a listen.
There's a new book called King Dollar. A journalist who's followed Treasury for about 40 years.
Yeah.
And he talks about every time there was a narrative that the U.S. was going to lose reserve currency status, why it's never happened. And
because crypto, that seems to be a threat to the dollar, doesn't it?
I think it's the opposite.
Oh, really?
I think stable coins could reinforce dollar supremacy, because with stable coins could end up being one of the largest buyers of U.S. treasuries or T-bills. So all of a sudden, if you are using a stable coin in Nigeria that's backed by the U.S. dollar, you don't actually have to have dollars. It's on your phone. You can transact. So I think there's a very good chance that crypto is actually one of the things that locks in dollar supremacy.
And is that why it was crucial that Donald Trump get involved in crypto rather than trying to constrain it like Joe Biden was?
I think constrain's too mild a word. I think make it extinct.
Oh.
So this administration's commitment to digital assets, it's innovation, because there's so many other things that happen around digital assets. And also, it's one of those things that it's one of the most important phenomena that's happening in the world, and the U.S. just ignored it.
And so I think this prediction from Bo Hines is actually pretty reasonable. Between $15 to $20 trillion will be the market cap of the entire crypto market after stablecoin legislation becomes law. Now, if we're going to be a little bit more conservative, we'll go somewhere in the middle. Let's say it's a $17.5 trillion market cap. Well, then if Bitcoin and XRP just maintained their same level of dominance, we're not talking about issues of liquidity, supply and demand, all sorts of other things that could drive the prices way higher. We're just talking about keeping the exact same level of dominance in the market. If the market hit $17.5 trillion, that would put Bitcoin at least $550,000 per token and XRP at least $11.25. But as we've seen in the past, XRP pumps far harder, and it would be far more likely that it would hit at least $15. In other words, it's not a question of if, but when, as Ripple is making all of the right moves. And they even recently posted that Ripple Payments is now supported by OpenPaid's real-time Euro and GBP rails and direct RLUSD minting and burning. Enterprises can seamlessly move between fiat and stablecoins. And so this solution supports a wide range of use cases, including cross-border payments, global treasury management, and streamlined access to US dollar liquidity using the RLUSD stablecoin. Now, when you combine this with what the SEC chairman Paul Atkins shared on asset tokenization alongside stablecoin legislation, things actually are going to be far more dynamic, and I would think that markets are going to pump far harder because of the levels of institutional demand. Now let's have a listen to what he shares.
Tokenization is an innovation, and we at the SEC should be focused on how do we advance innovation in the marketplace. And so I would argue here over the last several years, the SEC has been standing athwart efforts to innovate in the marketplace because things have been unclear. The rules have not been clear. We've had regulation through enforcement. That day is over. We are now, my whole goal is to make things transparent, from the regulatory aspect, and give people a firm foundation upon which to innovate and to come out with new products, and so that they know what they're doing.
I think there are two things to think about, Andrew, and that's tokenization of U.S. stocks, which is one thing which could drive a lot of cost savings for all parties involved.
I'm not against tokenization. I'm saying
settlement times would be reduced.
I'm talking about if you wanted to
tokenizing
SpaceX, which is a private
company. And then there's also an access to private credit, I think you were mentioning, which is a complete individual investor access to private credit, which is also another sort of tricky area in that this is also, as you mentioned, it's not as much liquidity. Valuations are very difficult, particularly, I would imagine, for an individual investor. I mean, there are a lot of things here that are new frontiers for investors. Where do you stand on that?
Well, two questions. So as far as tokenization and other innovations in the marketplace to make trading and holding securities easier and with quick settlement, my predecessor pushed for what we call T+1, meaning settlement and clearance the day after the trade, the trading day. And so tokenization and other aspects of doing that tokenization in the marketplace is yet the next step to have much more efficiency in the marketplace and certainty of having a trade settle.
And so we have widespread support now in Washington in every level at every agency, from the Treasury Secretary to the SEC Chairman. When you combine that with how much Ripple has been innovating and working on their business model to service the future of finance, I think this is a recipe for success. As Brad Garlinghouse posted, Ripple has always and will continue to build trusted, battle-tested, secure infrastructure in a $250+ billion market, which is expected to grow to at least $5 trillion over the upcoming years. RLUSD stands out for putting regulation first, setting the standard that institutions expect. So tell me, what are your thoughts? This week, are we going to see Ripple pump for some new local highs and get ready to explode to a new all-time high, or is the market going to need a bit more time? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, that is it for the video, folks. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also go to bullrunners.com to get access to Altcoin Secrets, which is the underground guidebook to help you become a crypto millionaire. I appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.